ladies and gentlemen, to the inaugural EQX Survivor League Fantasy Talk hosted by me and GGTV. I hope you guys are having a good time. I sure as hell am, because on the other side of this mic, I've got my good buddy, Fear the Beard. Welcome, sir. How are you doing?
What's up? How's it going?
I am doing fantastic. We just completed our fantasy draft a few days ago, and I'm sitting there inside this pizzeria just kind of munching on a barbecue chicken slice that's at least 2 foot long. My favorite place in the world. But the real party was happening down in Georgia, where you were. What happened there?
Oh, we had a great time over Mr. Wallace's house. I want to thank him for giving us a space to do the draft this year. We had the 60-inch with the draft board projected up there on it, on the TV. It was just a great experience.
That sounds awesome. Okay, so before we jump into what we're here for is to recap that draft, kind of go over everything and pass out some grades, huh? But before we jump into that, anything exciting happen over there?
Actually, yeah. You were gone, and you told us to pick your defense for you.
Mm-hmm.
And with the last pick, because you were obviously the last pick of the draft.
Yeah.
We made you pick. Damn, who was the player?
It was good old Zach Stacy.
Yeah, Zach Stacy. And Sean's like, man, Josh is a dick. and we're the ones that picked him for you.
Right.
Just
right.
as a joke. Some throw around because he was taken in the first round last year.
Yeah, his ass got dropped
From first to 25.
quick. As soon as free agency opened, he was hitting the showers. All right, so let's move into it. First, what I want to do is take a look at the keepers that were kept. So obviously, Evil Empire, Mr. Helm himself, got to hold on to two guys, LaShawn McCoy and Julio Jones. I remember he had a few guys he was trying to debate between, but ultimately he decided on these two. What do you think about them?
Those are solid picks by James. I mean, he also had to let Rob Gronkowski go and Calvin Johnson go. But,
Yeah.
you know, with not for sure if Brady's going to be playing for 4 games, I think that was an okay move by him. McCoy and Julio Jones, they're looking solid to be great picks.
That's awesome. So moving on, we had Adrian Peterson kept by Mile High Militia. Obviously, he really didn't play last year. I think he played, one game? Something like that before he got his suspension and all hell broke loose in Minnesota.
Yep.
So, clearly Adrian Peterson, the very cream of the crop as far as running backs go. Do you think he's going to be the same this year, though?
I think just time will tell, man, because I think there's a question mark by him. Can he come back and still do what AP does all the time?
Yeah, that's fair. Personally, I think he's going to get right back in that. I mean, it's rough after going through all that stuff, but the dude tore his ACL and his MCL? Like, what, a year before that? Or 2 years ago, and then came back and was still just the best. So, I don't think that's going to keep him down too hard. So, obviously, I think it's a good keeper. We have Jamal Charles, kept by Word to Yamimo. What do you think about him?
As long as he stays healthy, that's a solid keeper.
Yep, I agree. Solid running back. Workhorse, obviously. He ended up with 366 points last year. Rushing for just over 1,000 yards. He had 296 receptions, which is decent. Good middle-of-the-road guy. Solid pick. And then, of course, you had Des Bryant left as your keeper. What do you say about him?
He's pretty much the only guy that I could have kept on my team, so I kept him just, to have him in case, somebody wanted to trade and I didn't get a good draft spot or where I wanted to pick at. But right now, I'm holding on to him, and we'll see how it goes.
That's fair. I understand how that can work. You don't always have who you want to keep at the end of the year, but that's a good idea. Keeping some kind of almost trade bait around if he doesn't perform up to those lofty expectations. I
Right.
like it. Good idea. All right, so let's move on to round one. Let's recap that really quick. I'll just run down the list. So, starting out in the draft, we had Word to Your Mima picking Le'Veon Bell, running back for the Steelers. Did a great job last year. You can see his stats up on the screen from last year. And then we had Mile High Militia picking up a wide receiver at the second pick, which is personally I prefer running backs, but Antonio Brown put up some pretty damn good numbers. Then ATL Falcons had Eddie Lacy. Deflating Ain't Easy got Marshawn Lynch. Take Off My Pants and Jacket picked up the first tight end off the board. Likely the best tight end in the NFL right now, Rob Gronkowski. Bill Cosby's Special Pudding grabbed Matt Forte. Solid guy. A lot of receptions. 99 Problems, but a Vic Ain't One. Grabbed Demarius Thomas.
Demarius.
Demarius Thomas. The second wide receiver taken off of the board. Another good pick. Huge numbers for a receiver. The Evil Empire grabs C.J. Anderson. Then we have Asian Persuasion hitting up DeMarco Murray. The Rome Wolves grabbed Jeremy Hill. And then you got Justin Forsett off the board. And in the last, I picked up Alfred Morris. So, anything that just stands out from that group?
I think Gronk was the reach at fifth. He could have picked him up in the second round. I think nobody probably would have got him before he got the pick again. Because running backs went flying off the board, and
Oh, yeah.
there's not really any good ones once you get into the later rounds.
That's true. I agree with your assessment. Gronkowski is the best tight end in the game. He puts up big numbers. There is not a real question mark at quarterback, just in the timing of it, with Brady being out a possible 4 games. But that aside, it wasn't that much of a stretch on certain mock drafts from different professional analysts saying that he wasn't really that big of a stretch in the first round. So I guess we'll see. We'll see how much he can do for Take Off My Pants and Jacket. So what about anybody else? What about the 2 wide receivers? Do you see them being good picks where they were, or do you think it should have been all running backs in the first round?
Well, I probably would have took Antonio Brown second overall. I probably would have had to grab a running back.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I expect them to go in the first round. So
Yeah. So it was maybe not quite a stretch, but
it's just someone got a gift later down in the draft, like me
Yeah.
possibly.
that's true. And he puts up gaudy numbers for a receiver. He did last year.
Well, this was my intention going in the draft. I wanted to get one solid good running back because wide receivers are a dime a dozen. There's going to be 10 or 15 guys that could come out this year and be the whole new guys next year. You know what I mean?
That's absolutely true. And you see that often in fantasy where you get the guy who was the very best last year, and then this year he's only mediocre, while the other guy on the team takes off. So it's you can say that with any position, any player throughout fantasy, but there are positions and players where that is the case even more so. Antonio Brown, damn good receiver, not a bad pick at second overall.
Is this Brown's third year, second year,
It's third or more.
third or
Not-
more?
I'm not totally sure. I know he was not a rookie 2 years ago, so it's definitely 3 or more.
Okay.
Um, anything else stand out particularly? How
No,
about
no.
DeMarco Murray moving from the Eagles to the Bills? How do you think he's going to perform this year?
You mean LaShawn McCoy?
Yeah, that one. We already went over him. Scratch all that. Let's focus on DeMarco Murray going from the Cowboys to the Eagles.
I think he'll be a good fit for Chip Kelly's system if they can get their offensive line straightened out and
Mm-hmm.
open up some good lanes for him because they have some good weapons out there, and they're going to be running that Chip Kelly Oregon offense, and you don't know what might happen.
Right.
It might just blow up in his hand, or it could be a grand fireworks spectacle. We don't know.
So, do you think that it seems he went from the very best running back last year to slipping to ninth overall in the first round? Uh,
I think the team move had a big factor with that.
oh yeah, absolutely. So that seems like very possibly really good value. So definitely a good pick at ninth overall. I think we're. You got anything else to add to the first round picks?
I think that about covers it.
Okay, fantastic. Let's move on to the second round. Round number two, a little bit spicier graphic in there. Get things moving a little faster. All right. We have Word to Your Meemaw. Reverse order. I got Mark Ingram in the second round, first pick. Then we had you grabbing Calvin Johnson, Andrew Luck
Right.
being picked up by the Rome Wolves, Jimmy Graham from Asian Persuasion, Odell Beckham Jr. to the Evil Empire, AJ Green to 99 Problems, but a Vic ain't one. Aaron Rodgers picked up by Bill Cosby's Special Pudding, Russell Wilson taken off the board by Take Off My Pants and Jacket, Jordy Nelson to Deflatin' Ain't Easy, Peyton Manning going to the ATL Falcons, Randall Cobb to the Mile High Militia, and T.Y. Hilton to Word to Your Meemaw. So, what stands out as the big thing in the second round?
Hmm. Uh, I guess I would have to say take off my pants and jacket, picking Russell Wilson in the second round.
So, let's see. We have his stats right here. He went for 3,475 passing yards. He had 849 rushing yards. Threw the ball at 59% completion rate. Had 26 touchdowns to 7 interceptions for 579 points. Now, he is not the very top of the quarterback crew. As far as points go, we see Aaron Rodgers and Andrew Luck having over 700 points apiece in that category. But with rushing yards being more valuable than passing yards, perhaps the addition of Jimmy Graham pads to that total of passing yards, and he shoots up. Do you agree? Disagree?
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. He's gonna have a better year this year, I think, especially with Jimmy Graham, that big target out there for the Seahawks, because they like to run the ball and they like to pass a lot. And, they like to run the bootlegs and stuff with Russell.
Oh yeah.
He likes to use his legs too, but I think he'll add a big factor to their offense.
Okay. Yeah, and I know they like to run the ball 3 times and then throw the bomb 60 yards down the field. And that's where that's where he really excels. So, we'll see how he does. Obviously, the very first quarterback taken off of the board was Andrew Luck with 4,761 yards last year at a 62 completion rate, 43 touchdowns to 16 interceptions for a total of 732 fantasy points. So absolutely a fantastic quarterback. Not quite the highest last year. That went to Aaron Rodgers. But for a guy that's only been in the league, a few years, 43 touchdowns is pretty damn good. 732 points. The ceiling is definitely high for him. 16 interceptions, that can come down a little bit, and it's very possible that Andrew Luck becomes the number one fantasy quarterback this year.
Oh, absolutely. Especially with him running too. So, yeah, he could definitely become the number one fantasy quarterback.
I definitely agree. So, where do you rank your boy Calvin Johnson this year? Well, obviously, last year he had according to his own lofty standards, he had kind of a down year. Where do you see him finishing this year?
Right. Last year he was plagued by a few injuries. He had to sit out 5 or 6 games, I believe. I have him really high this year. I'm actually surprised he fell to me at pick 14.
Yeah.
He's cut down on his body fat. He's dropped his body fat percentage down. He looks really good in preseason, and they're keeping him off the field during the preseason games. He's ready to go this year for the real thing. I've watched him and Nate Burleson talk and Golden Tate, and they're like, why not us? Why not us? Why can't we be in Super Bowl 50? That is their goal. It's Super Bowl or bust for us this year.
I like it. So, do you think he's going to finish as the number one fantasy wide receiver this year?
Oh, absolutely. I think he's just going to come out and just light everything on fire.
Awesome. So, through 2 rounds, we've kind of covered now. Do you have anything else to add to round 2?
In round 2, everything else looks, I could see why someone would have took Jimmy, because after Graham and Jimmy, or after Gronk and Jimmy, there's like nothing really at the tight end position. You're kind of just, pulling apples out of a barrel.
Yep.
The 2 golden apples are gone. So
I like it. That's very true.
You don't know what's going to happen with the tight ends. Hardly any of them score like over 100 points, except for
that's very true.
Graham and Gronkowski. So
you have the 2 at the very top scoring wide receiver numbers,
right.
And then there's everybody else. So
right.
I can understand why you would take tight ends early, those 2 tight ends early, because it adds almost a receiver to you're already having 3 receivers. You get an extra one in there, so potentially very good idea.
Right.
All right. So after looking at the first 2 rounds, which arguably are the most important, it kind of sets the tone for the entire draft for each owner. So, seeing what we've seen through the first 2 rounds, where would you grade yourself?
I wouldn't say I had absolutely the best draft, but I would have graded it like an A-.
Okay. That's probably where I saw myself as well. Somewhere around a higher grade, just because I picked last and I was able to grab 2 decent running backs. So that's what I was looking for, was solid guys who would put up okay numbers. Maybe not the home run or bust guys, but solid.
Right.
Who do you think did the worst throughout the first 2 rounds?
Who do I think did the worst?
That's kind of a rough question, but keep in mind that 2 rounds does not equal the entire draft. It does not equal the entire season by any measure. But there's got to be a number 1 guy. There's got to be the last guy too. Every step of the way.
Depending on what's going to happen, I would have to grade take my pants and jacket off as the worst.
Fair enough. Not to completely throw you under the bus there, I would probably agree with you. Just because grabbing a tight end so early and then following it up with a quarterback in the second round, maybe not the best strategy, but I've never won the damn thing, so who knows? Maybe he's taken the box, he's crushed the box, and he's thrown it out the fucking window. So he's reinventing the wheel. Maybe he makes it through. We'll see.
Maybe he does. And then he can call me completely an idiot.
Oh yeah.
You know, after
It's gonna be.
after the season's over, if he wins it all. We're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
well, I didn't know, bro. Okay. That was my bad.
Yep. So, all right, we've covered the first two rounds. We're not going to go through the rest of them. However, we've both seen the draft. We were there.
In person.
No, not all of us. Some of us were eating pizza in a lonely cafeteria. Oh, one thing we forgot to touch on were the new rule changes, which absolutely changed the way you should draft. Basically, the main change that happened was the bonuses that were in effect at certain yardage based on position was scaled down almost in half, even. So, rather than having this boom or bust feeling to it each week, you're just sitting there in Applebee's or sitting at home or wherever you are with your fingers crossed, just praying for that running back that's got 76 yards just to bust one when there's only a half a quarter left in the game. Try to hit that 100 yards because that'll make or break me. This year, it's not quite the case anymore. It went from 25 bonus points down to 15 at your first bonus, and then from 50 points down to 25. So that changes the the landscape of it completely. So I feel that it values guys who are going to hit the red zone, get in the end zone a little more, not entirely, but a little bit more than where they were. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree totally. I was targeting guys who I think might get a bunch of touchdowns this year. Because they're gonna be worth more.
Right.
And that's another reason I kept Dez, because he had the most touchdowns as wide receiver last year. I think he had 16, 18, something like that.
That's absolutely fair. So that changed my draft strategy a lot, because in years past I went after guys who were home run hitters. So a guy that might have 120 yards, 1 week, but then might only get 60 yards the next week.
Right.
And I think that changed a lot with this rule change, because I'm looking for more solid guys. Consistency. That's what I wanted. And for that, I went out. My idea was to go out and just draft solid guys, but then depth. Get as much solid as I can, and then draft depth afterwards. What kind of strategy did you have actually heading into it?
Well, my strategy was to get at least one very good running back, which I accomplished, and then I was going to target potentially superstar running backs, which they fell to me in the third and fourth round, so that's who I drafted. I drafted the new kid on the block in Detroit with Amir Abdullah, who I think is outstanding right now. As long as he stays healthy and he's on that field, he's going to be catching balls out of the backfield. He could just bust one like old school Reggie Bush and juke 5 mugs and run down the field and be in the end zone before you even know what happened. And I also picked up Todd Gurley. I know he might not play for a couple of games, but he's one of those home run guys. He could take the ball to the end zone, just like that.
That's true. So we'll see how it turns out. Do you have anything else to add before we start wrapping it up?
Nah, I don't think I have anything else to add for today.
Okay. So then what I want to do now is just kind of look through as a whole for the draft. who do you think had the best draft overall?
I would have, I have to say our former champion, the Evil Empire, because he already had two solid keepers, and then he could just start from there, just building from there.
That's true. He had a leg up already, and then had an incredibly solid draft afterwards. He actually got a lot of the players that I was targeting. So I'm sitting there in this pizzeria, just waiting 15 minutes in between my two picks, and I've got 6 guys on my favorites list, just ready to hit draft as soon as it gets to me. I sit there and I watch them go away one by one by one. And it's almost every time it was Evil Empire grabbing the guy that I wanted the most. But he had a good draft, absolutely, I agree. For me, my opinion, I had the best draft. I'm going to win it all. See you guys in the winner's circle next year.
Golf clap, sir. If
All
my
right.
ego was that big, I would have said I had the best draft too.
Well, my ego eats a lot daily, and it's kind of hard to keep up with. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's all we have for the very first EQX Survivor League Fantasy Talk. The draft recap. Did a great job, everybody. I feel like just about everyone's very pleased with how their draft went, and time will tell. So we will be back before the start of the regular season. We're going to have a preseason recap, and then we're going to try and go from each week with a seasonal recap, or with a weekly recap throughout the season. We'll kind of see who's doing the best, where everybody's going up, trending, and we'll see you then.